Welcome back to Just Scrap Radio on BJPenn.com. Our host Cole Shelton. This episode 160 is live at UFC Vegas 90 this weekend. First up, we're going to jump by Alex Morono to preview his fight against Court McGee. A really interesting fight. Pair of veterans going at it. This is a fight that Alex is really looking forward to, fighting another legend of the sport. He said these are the kind of guys he wants to fight, and he's really looking to make a statement here. We're then going to be joined by Damon Jackson to preview his fight against Alexander Hernandez, which is the co-main event, a big spotlight here for Damon, and he knows the big opportunity that he can't let go against Alex, especially on a 2-fight losing streak. Could be fighting for his job here. And then we close things out talking to Christos Giagos about his fight against Ignacio Bahamondes. Christos coming off a bit of a disappointing fight last time out, got finished by Daniel Silhuber, said he learned a lot from that one, and he really looked forward to this fight against Ignacio because they are very similar, both tall, lanky strikers, so he's excited to show what he should have done against that last fight against Silhuber here. But be sure to share the show, subscribe, and tune in next week for another episode of Just Scrap Radio. All right, we're jumping UFC welterweight Alex Morono, who's back in action here at April 6th. Alex, how's it going, man?
Good. As you guys can see, I look a little famished right now. I've been training all day, and I just finished a pretty hard jiu-jitsu session.
Court McGee, like one of the OGs of the sport, like how kind of happy were you? Like you've been kind of going on this, like you had a bit of that legend tour for a bit, like you had Pettis, Cowboy, you had Tim Means, Ponzinibbio, you're getting Court, like he kind of feels like the last one of those kind of OG guys. Like how excited were you when you got the name to fight him?
Yeah, man, the Legends Tour, I like that. I really hope to get as many legends as possible before they're out. It's like turned me into a vet now, but I was really happy with the name. He's got some notable wins. He's been in the UFC forever. I've watched most all of his fights, and like especially his story of like turning his life around with martial arts is really cool. I can really get behind those stories. I got a lot of respect for that man. Really happy to be sharing the octagon with him, and I'm ready to throw down. Good old fashioned fist fight in the octagon.
I know you're always super busy with your gym and everything. So what timing wise, like 6 months after your last fight, like was this roughly what you wanted, or were you hoping to get in there sooner?
Man, I actually, oddly enough, I had to get some scar tissue shaved out of my elbow. So I had like pretty minor surgery. Like the recovery was just incision healing. But like still to have to get surgery and then take some time at the end of the year last year was good. So no, the time frame was actually pretty solid.
And then with this one, like just being at the Apex, like is that a bit of a disappointment for you then? Is that return fight just being back there?
So no, I thought so. So, I had 3 crowd fights in a row, and then I was back at the Apex for my last fight, and that did bum me out. And I had like kind of like the wrong mindset. I was like, I'm gonna make this routine, get in and out, make not a big deal out of it. And like we only fight so many times in our lifetime, and it should be a big deal. And like I do it for like the emotional experience. So I'm actually happy to run it back at the Apex, so I can make sure to have like that good mindset, make sure my radiometer's dialed to 10 as it normally is. And go run that back. This will be my 7th fight in the Apex. Ricky had all his fights in the Apex. Like the Apex is our home, man. I like the Apex. I didn't realize how much I like it until I kind of squandered an experience there.
And for you, like I know when we always talk, like you kind of split the camp. You drive to Florida sometimes. You do a lot at your own gym. Like was that the same for this one, or like how did the camp work for this one?
Yeah, it's been like that for I don't know how many fights now, but so Fortis is about a 2.5-hour drive north from here, so it's not so bad. So like I do like the beginning of my week training there and then the end of my week training here. And I'm a super scheduled person. Like even out of camp, I have the same training schedule. Granted, I don't go to Dallas as much, but like I live and die by a schedule, and like strictly because I enjoy training so much. So I mean, I just gave a speech to my guys. I like sat down with like a couple of pros and a couple of amis, and I was like, all right, guys, with the 8 of us, who trains the most? And they were all like thinking, I was like, I do by a mile. And I was like, if you guys want to achieve more than me, you have to train more than me. So they were all super hyped up. They train a lot. But like I was inspiring them to train even more. But now I'm a super scheduled guy. In camp, out of camp, doesn't matter. I fill my days with training. I don't have enough calories in a day to hit the sessions that are available, which is a great problem to have. But training's super abundant right now. It's awesome.
Court obviously fought a teammate of yours in Ramiz. Like I know you two are very different styles. So do you talk to Ramiz about that fight, or do you think like just how different your styles are, like it isn't much of a factor?
Ramez and I went to war on Tuesday, man. We did a bunch of rounds together. Yeah, he's the man. I know that was his debut. We've talked about, what he did right, what he did wrong in that fight. I've done a lot of tape study, but yeah, I mean, having a guy who's already fought him has given us good insight. And, Court's a vet too. He knows the game well. I know the game well. Ramez knows the game, especially now that he's got, 3 good subs under his belt. So it's been pretty cool. But yeah, no, Ramez has been a tremendous training partner and friend in this fight camp, and it was cool. He actually got booked to fight Garimbo.
Mhm.
Great matchup for him, so I've been helping him out as well. So we've been really giving each other some good rounds.
With Court, like he's kind of fought everyone, but as of like he was known for his durability. I know in his past 2 fights he's been knocked out. Do you just think that's who he's fighting? Or do you think that like chin and his durability is starting to go with the age?
I mean, nah, he fought Matt Brown, who's got the most knockouts in welterweight. He fought Jeremiah Wells, who throws and swings like an absolute madman. I mean, no, I don't know. I was talking to one of my young amateurs, and he was like, he was making like connections that weren't really there. And I was like, there's no rhyme or reason to some of this stuff. I was like MMA is chaos. You have to control as much of it as you can and like be in charge of your own fate. So, I mean, no, I don't think he's got any weird susceptibilities. I think like any other fight, I just got to go in there and do my job and make sure I get my hand raised.
How do you think you match up against Court then?
Good, good. I feel like we're well rounded everywhere. I'm pretty sure he's going to try to grapple with me.
Hmm.
And I don't really go for, now granted, I've been doing a lot of wrestling. Like I expect us to grapple a lot in this fight, but you guys know me. I'm going to stand and box if they let me. So, I mean, I'm going to go throw some heat and go for the KO like I always do. And he's going to do what he does. And we're just going to have a good old classic UFC fight, man. Between he and I think there's 43 UFC fights between us. So I always like those kind of stats. And that's a pretty big number of fights.
I was looking. This is going to be your 20th UFC fight. Like, is that cool for you to get to that number? Like, I know we've always talked, like, you had these kind of things. Like, I think it was, what was it, 20 fights, and then it's gone to what, 15 wins, you said, to retire, and then it's kind of been getting pushed back more and more.
So, in my less seasoned time, 20 fights was the goal, but in hindsight, that was the wrong goal. 20 wins is the goal.
Yeah.
I'm at 12 wins now in the UFC. April 6th going to be number 13. So like 20 wins is my new goal. And then once I hit 20 wins, I'll set a goal beyond that. But yeah, so like fight number 20 is awesome. What's cool is on fight number 21, I cap out at the Venom sponsorship pay, which is pretty cool. I'm looking forward to getting a bump in that check. But no, it's cool, man. Like, I feel like I could do 40 fights in the UFC. I mean, Court's 39. If I'm lucky to be fighting still at 39, that's 20 more fights, man. So I'd love to hit that Dustin Poirier, Jim Miller kind of threshold. Over 30 fights would be awesome.
I know when we've always talked, someone that's always stood out is like how you've kind of never really cared. Not cared isn't the right word, but like you've not too worried about the rankings or like the belt, all that stuff. Like to you, it's more like about the martial arts and fighting. Like, is that still the case for you? Or like, I remember when we've always talked, you always said like, you'll let Jeff go be the champ and let these other guys be the champ. Like, you'd rather see that than yourself. Like, you're just more in it to fight and be a martial artist. Like, is that still the case for you?
I mean, yeah, for me, it's such a case by case thing. Like, had I beat Buckley, that would have been a good streak at welterweight. I'd have probably been ranked. And like, if I had got that win, I'd have probably given you a different answer. But I mean, dude, I don't care. I just enjoy fighting so much. I'm getting paid really well now by the UFC too. So, I mean, I told my guys, I was like, what is your goal to some of my early pros? They're like UFC champ. And I was like, good. If you want to be UFC champ, that means you got to train more than me because I train a lot. And I wasn't able to achieve that. Not yet. I could be in the cards, but it was just really cool. But I mean, no, I mean, I try to be so analytical and like logical on decisions and patterns and routing. So I take it really one fight at a time. And dude, I don't care. I love being in the UFC, man. Like my gym is at a point to where like, we don't need more. If I could have every one of my students be happy and stay here, we'd be doing awesome. There's always going to be that turnaround, but like I've achieved a lot as a martial artist. There's still more to achieve, but I'm very content. And so like my goals for fighting is strictly because I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the feeling, the walk, the actual combat, the damage, the victory. So, I know what my goals are, and it's to experience like true, like untainted MMA, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to go experience it again in April. That's what I do.
It is like an interesting because like I know when some fans hear it, they'll be like, "Oh, then what's the point of fighting if he doesn't want to be champion?" But like I've talked to plenty of fighters. Like I talked to Christos Giagos yesterday or the day before, and he kind of said the same thing where he's like, "I'm just here to have fun. Like fighting is fun to me. I enjoy it. I get paid well to do it. So like that's what I want to do. Like I'm not worried about being a champion. Like to me, it's just fun fighting." But with Court, like he is super noble. He has been knocked out. I know you have powers. Like how do you kind of see it playing out then?
It's funny. I know that I've given this answer a million times, but I mean, it's true. Like knockout is a gold medal in my mind. Knockout's a gold, a submission is silver, and a decision is bronze. and like making the podium is the goal. Winning the fight is the goal. I'm gonna do whatever I got to do to win the fight. If I can knock him out, to me that's an A plus. If I can sub him, that's an A. And if I win a decision, that's passing. Which is good enough. But it doesn't matter who I fight. The goal is always to finish, especially by knockout. That's just like the most sure way to win a fight. When I was a young amateur, I noticed a lot of these guys, they were intimidated about the striking, and like no one really like wanted to stand and bang. And those who did, they didn't do jiu-jitsu, so they get taken down and submitted and use that as an out. So like I think I do more jiu-jitsu than anything, and but just this winning the fight with strikes is just always in my mind the pinnacle of victories, and that's what I make my goal.
Fighting on the same card as Damon Jackson too, like does that just make fight week a bit easier? Like having a familiar face and like I guess even more coaches and teammates around.
Hell yeah, the Leech. So before I went to Fortis, man, I was a big fan of Legacy. I fought for Legacy. I was a welterweight champ, and I watched so many of his fights, and that dude was just a finisher. And it was really funny. One of my guys, Jake Heffernan, it was kind of when he was like getting to like Legacy main events and Legacy main cards, he got offered some kickboxer, and he was like a little hesitant to take the match. And I was like, Jake, look at the guys in Legacy. It was Daniel Pineda. It was Damon Jackson. It was Kevin Aguilar. I was like, these are the guys in Legacy. Like, there's harder fights than your opponent already in Legacy. And then, like, what about the UFC? So, like, I've always held Damon to such a high regard. And he is a finisher, man. He just finds a way to get these finishes. And then finally, when I went to Fortis, I got to meet him and train with him. And now to fight on the same card, man, I am excited. I love his matchup against Hernandez. Damon's a beast. So, yeah, I'm very happy to be sharing a card with him.
For you, like, what do you think a win over Court does for you? Like, you're kind of a guy that's always near the rankings. Like, I know for you, you want these legend fights. Like, there are still a couple of guys. Like, Matt Brown is someone like that you haven't fought. Like, what do you think? What do you think a win kind of does for you?
A win gets me my win bonus, which is awesome. It puts a win on my record. It puts a feather in my cap, beating a vet like Court, Ultimate Fighter champ. And, it does a lot. It does a lot for me. And like, again, rankings, I honestly don't really care. But like my win number in the UFC goes up. And that to me, that is all that matters. Like every decision I make in life, whether it's taking a nap or eating clean or training or whatever, it revolves around winning these fights. And so to go in there with anything other than like a winning mindset is just, what's the point of doing this?
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing it to win it. So like winning the fight does a lot for me, like personally, and just as a martial artist, it allows me to achieve, something that I can, be very proud of. So, just the feather in the cap is really what's most valuable to me. Beating
not like calling anyone out, but like I know Matt is kind of that one guy that's in that area that you haven't fought. Like, is there anyone else like these guys, like Court, like Tim, like Cowboy, that you want to fight before your career's up and or before their career's up?
I mean, yeah, honestly, there's a lot of guys in the UFC that are like newer but have like a lot of name value. That would be fun, like Neil Magny, like Colby Covington, like guys, anyone in the UFC with like more than like 10 or 12 fights, I think would be awesome. Guys know. It was funny. Phil Rowe actually had done like a pretty like polite call out. I'd be happy to fight that dude. Like, dude, honestly, there's a lot of guys in the UFC I'd like to, but in terms of like legends, like Matt Brown would certainly be one of them. Neil Magny would be cool. There's a lot of guys. And honestly, like give me some of the contender guys too. Give me some young bloods. I'll beat those dudes up as well. I don't really care.
Just a couple more things for you. Like, what's your thoughts on the welterweight division? Like, you have obviously Edwards had that fight with Covington. Like, it seems like Bilal should get the next shot. And then kind of Shavkat, Jack Della Maddalene are coming up. Like, Ian Gary's coming up. Like, it seems like that new wave is kind of getting up to that top 5.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. Shavkat would be a cool fight against Maddalena. The props to Maddalena for winning that fight against Burns and then calling out Shavkat. Like, that's bold. I think Bilal earns himself a title shot. I don't know why he gets so much grief, man. He finished Sean Brady like, dude, he's not the worst dude to watch. But I think he earned a title shot. I think Leon's doing a good job as champ, man. He's a tough dude to beat. He's very technical. He's very patient, and he knows how to win fights in the octagon. I think Shavkat is, that dude's a finisher. Maddalena's a finisher. Man, I would like Maddalena would be a really fun fight as well. I mean, I think the welterweight division is going to really kind of like come into its own, kind of get rid of all these wrestlers and get some strikers in the mix. That's always fun.
For you, like, what is kind of the goal then for you this year?
3 fights, 3 wins. If they let me fight 4 times, then 4 fights and 4 wins. But I'm a pattern recognition guy. I have fought either 2 or 3 times a year for the last 8 years. Never 4, never 1. So, I mean, it'll be either 2 or 3. So for however many fights they let me do, I'm going to win them. That's the plan. And for the record, if they'd let me fight 6 times a year, I would. My body durability, for whatever reason, has always been my strongest attribute. Like I can train and make weight and fight, every other month if they'd let me. But I know there's a lot of guys on the roster they got to get through. But 3 fights, 3 wins is my goal.
Just a couple more things. Someone I did want to ask you about is a fighter in your weight class is Michael Page that they signed. Like, what you make of his performance? I was surprised he beat Kevin Holland. I thought Holland was going to win. I thought Holland was going to wrestle more, like how that second round played out. That's how I kind of thought he'd fight the
Yeah,
entire time. Like, what do you think of his MVP's performance?
me too. I was rooting for Kevin Holland. I was rooting for America and the UFC. And I'd seen a lot of Michael Venom Page's fights, but he never really fought the highest of quality
Mm-hmm.
opponents. He did, he had some trouble with Lima and Storley. But honestly, he made me a fan. That would be another like dream fight. Like fighting him or fighting Wonder Boy would be like a dream fight as a striker and martial artist. I think I'm like reaching a little on those, but dude, if they ever come around, you better believe I'll jump on them. But man, MVP made me a fan for his age. He was moving quick. He made it really entertaining. That was a fun fight. Honestly, man, I really enjoyed watching that. Like as a martial artist, especially a striker, I had all my boys over, and that was a fun card to watch. Poirier doing his thing was all amazing. But yeah, it's cool MVPs in the UFC now. It really is. I mean, I'm excited to see who they match him up with next.
Just two more things, like with the whole Ricky thing, like what kind of happened with that? Like you have to go down to Mexico City, it gets canceled. Like I was at my friend's house, we were just had the card on in the background, we were playing pool and just kind of hanging out, and then I see on the thing, I'm like, that's odd. Like because they were supposed to walk out, and I'm like, why is Zell Huber on? I'm like, I thought they were before Zell Huber, so I was so confused of what happened. And then they announced it's on for the following week, and then Ricky's like, oh no, it's not. And like, what kind of was that like 24 hours kind of like for you down there?
Man, it was weird. So, like, for the record, I know the UFC hooked up Rick. Like, they made sure he was compensated, which was awesome. Man, Ricky was in Mexico for a month prepping, and he was in fight shape before he went to Mexico. I got there, and I talked to one of my coaches. I was like, hey, did the elevation get to you? And he was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, did it get to Ricky? And he was like, not really. Ricky's in shape, man. Ricky's a cardio machine. Anyway, I get up there on fight week. Everything's going good, makes weight, feeling sharp. Do we finish the warm-up? We're about to make the walk. Ricky's meditating, and we're like minutes from making the walk. And we hear that Rosas wasn't medically cleared, was sick, for whatever that means. And the fight was off. And I was like, is the fight 100% off? And they were like, 100% off. And I was like, all right. And they're like, don't worry, we'll come talk to you guys about what we can book next. Didn't really give us many options. They said, like, the offer is next week at 145 pounds, which doesn't favor Rick. It favors Rosas. But Ricky accepted everything. Monday, we get our plane tickets. And then a few minutes later, we hear Rosas couldn't fight again. And I told Rick, I was like, hey, man, you said yes twice. You were ready to go twice. There's nothing more you can do. And I'm like, and I'm sure the UFC will take care of you when they did. But man, I talked to one of the guys, one of the UFC staff in Mexico about Rosas. I was like, hey, what was the diagnosis? And he was like, I don't know. I don't know how sick he was. But I mean, I don't know. It's out of our hands, and we didn't get like as much info. Like, I'm sure he was maybe a little sick, but did you deal with that, man? Usually the doctor says you cannot fight and the fighter says you can fight, but the doctor doesn't clear it. From what I heard, the doctor said he could fight and Rosas said he couldn't. So, I mean, but again, like, dude, he's out of our hands. Maybe he was a little sick. I don't know, but that sucked. Ricky handled that like a champ. He really did. And like, I'm a little older now. If I do a full fight camp in a different country, dude, I better fight. You know what I mean? So like Ricky handled it well. It was really frustrating. It was really weird. But like the fact that there was nothing we could do to make it happen, what are you going to do? We just learned a good lesson. Ricky did level up in that camp. His grappling got really good, even better. So, we just took the positives and moved on. Hopefully they'll book him sometime in maybe June.
Do you are you guys even interested in rebooking that, or do you think like you tried twice, like let's just move on from that fight?
I loved the matchup for Ricky. Raul's strength is his grappling. Ricky's strength is his grappling and his cardio. I saw Ricky winning that fight in a lot of different ways. Honestly, there's a lot of value in beating the kid with a lot of hype. I don't see him pulling out 3 times, So, like, I think if they offered it, I'm pretty sure we would jump on it. But I don't think that'll be offered again, personally.
How hard is that for as a fighter where like you just your emotions, like you get your adrenaline running so high and like to then not have that adrenaline dump of the fight, like what's that kind of like backstage?
I don't know, man. That's tough. Like, I can't speak for Rick. He's a little more chill than me. But, like, the full fight camp, the warm-up, I mean, we got our reps in. Ricky was like, we got the weight cut, man. Like the weight cut's not easy. I don't know. That sucks. But like, we're disciplined. We're martial artists. You can't lose your cool over shit you can't control. So I mean, he understood the scenario in front of him, and he didn't waste any energy on it, as he shouldn't have. Sean Shelby was like, Ricky's being cool about this. It was cool, man. Sean Shelby's the man. He really like went out of his way to make sure we were kind of taken care of.
Just final thing, like I know you're always super busy with your gym and coaching and everything, but like analyst work, is that something that's ever, I know we've talked about it in the past, but like going on like that ESPN desk or doing any of that stuff, like is that something you've expressed interest in or you'd be interested in at all? Like, because it seems like you're so smart with MMA and like breaking down fights and everything. Like, is that something that you'd be interested in doing, like maybe post career or just even like getting a couple reps in now?
Maybe if it was like once a month, cool. But I tell you, I'm weird. I don't like traveling. I don't like leaving my gym or my home at all. Like Fortis is the one exception, and then fight week. But dude, I teach all the classes here. Like all the kids, I teach everything here and run my gym. I'm happy with what I'm doing. So if it was a lot of traveling, then no. But I do commentary for Fury. Like there's some fights in San Antonio on Sunday. They have fights in Houston like 2 or 3 times a week, or submission only matches. So I really do love doing the breakdown and like the explanation to like the everyman. But I don't know, if they offered something, I would certainly give it a try. But if it was very demanding from a travel perspective, honestly, probably not. But if it was doable, then sure, that'd be cool.
Oh, well, Alex, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this again.
Yeah, you got it, man. I'll talk to you next.
All right, we're jumping UFC featherweight Damon Jackson, who's back and actually on April 6th. Damon, how's it going, man?
It's going pretty good, man. Just finished up training, just chilling today. About to go get my girls.
Uh, Big fight upcoming. Like Alexander Hernandez is a guy like has had a lot of success at the UFC. Like people know about him. So how happy were you when this is the opponent? Because it's kind of like you're starting to get these more recognized guys like Ige, Ozzy, Billy Q, and now Hernandez.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready to freaking fight, man. I'm so excited to be healed up and be training full time. Like whenever I had the Billy fight, I wasn't training full time like I normally do, just because I just opened the gym and stuff, and I was still dealing with my pec injury from a year before that. So now I'm fully healed up and everything feels great. Everything's been looking great, and I'm just excited, man. And definitely Alex, man, he's a tough as hell. Fought huge names, had some success. He's been up and down, whatever, but he's always, I know he's a tough dude.
What do you take away from your last fight against Billy Q? Like obviously that was a super close fight against a guy that's borderline top 15.
Yeah, man. I mean, we both have been sitting outside that range. I think it's just it was a tough fight. I knew it was gonna be, but I don't know what happened. The second round, my body just like tanked, man. I had such a good first round. Thought I was gonna like definitely get a finish in the second, and I could just feel my body just get heavy and like I don't know what happened, man. I had a pretty good weight cut. I think maybe I rushed it. I kind of got started my weight cut early because I was just excited for the whole week. I loved Nashville. It was so cool being there and stuff, and I think I was just kind of amped up, and I got started on my weight cut a little early, so that might have been an issue. So who knows, man. I like you're cutting 25 30 pounds off your body, off my frame at 45. It's a lot of weight. So I was walking into the fight night at 173. So uh, it's a lot of weight, but managing it now and just keeping it a little bit lighter, and we'll see how it goes. Who knows?
And with this one against Alex, like how do you kind of match against it? Like I know Alex is a guy that likes to keep it standing. Like his jiu-jitsu is pretty good though. Like I feel like he does get overlooked a lot just because his like knockout powers. Like how do you think you match up against him?
Yeah. I mean, you can't take away and say that he's not a wrestler or like not doesn't have wrestling or doesn't have jiu-jitsu or whatever, because he definitely presses people on the cage a lot. He's comfortable with those grappling situations. Um, I've been on another level with my grappling lately because I'm like I haven't got to do it in so long, and so now I'm like smashing these high school kids and then going to my practice, and I'm going to striking. I've been overkilling it on my striking for the last year and a half, whatever. And I'm just excited to see some of the stuff come out in my fights. And so this is definitely going to be a big test for both of us, man. It's going to be a hell of a fight. I promise you that. I'm ready to go.
With Alex, are you surprised he stayed at featherweight? Like I know when he fought Billy, he kind of said he was having a lot of trouble with the weight cut, and then he went back down against Bill. Like, he's obviously 0-2 at featherweight. I know it's like cardio's always been a concern for him. Like, are you surprised that he's staying down to 45?
I think it's something weird that happens with people when they realize like things aren't going their way and they're at the end of their career. They kind of like they want to do anything in the world to make it right. So they always think cutting the weight down is going to help. I have been, I've been at featherweight for years now, and whenever I go to start thinking about retiring, I'm going up to 55. I'm not going to go down to 35. I'm going to go up. Like I have a hard time. Like I don't get to lift weights the same way. I don't get to like eat like
Mm-hmm.
more than freaking 2,000 max a day if I'm like really pushing it. I'm like I would love to go up to 55 a few times and fight there. So it's like whenever people things aren't going their way, they always want to cut down. I think that's a really bad thing. I think it's really hard on your brain and hard on your body to recover. If you're not used to that weight. So I've gotten used to. I've been fighting at featherweight almost my whole pro career. So I don't walk around at featherweight. I'm walking around about 75. So I don't know, man. I think that's what it is, though. I think it's just people, they want to find some advantage on someone, and it's not an advantage. I promise you that.
With Alex, like we kind of seen him fade on in fights. Like, do you think the longer the fight goes, the better it is for you? Because we've seen you push a pretty hard pace for 3 rounds.
Let's go. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm going in there. Fucking first round's going to be fury because I'm coming out heavy. I know he always comes out heavy, and fucking it's going to be like banger that first round. So we'll see if he goes past that, and I'm fucking ready for 3 for sure.
Is there any pressure on you going to this one? Just coming off 2 losses in a row, like you kind of never know with the
No,
UFC.
Sean Shelby told me straight up that I didn't lose that fight. He thought I won, and so like like whatever, pressure's there always. You gotta perform, or you don't get to stay. So if I go out there and have some like bullshit performance and I lose again, then yeah, pressure's there for sure. But if I go out there and fight the way I know I'm capable of, and and say that you got that one random ass judge that
Mhm.
was judging Kennedy's fight. I don't know her name, but golly, that lady was trash. And but anyway, so if you got some random judge out there that gives it to him and it was a great fight on my half, like I'm not scared, man. Like they know I'm ready to fight. They know I'm, coming in, with all intentions upon finishing, and I have the capability of fighting these top guys. It's just life's funny. Life's a bitch sometimes, so just got to be ready for this fight, and I'm ready, man.
The judges are so weird because like I feel like the last couple of years, like it's almost gotten worse, and like you think it would get better. Like I feel
Ugh,
like there's more like odd scorecards. Like even that like that
man,
Bulgarian Rodriguez fight the other weekend. Like I thought like that was like a draw. Maybe you go like 10-8, 10-9, 10-8, or it was Bulgarian. Like I'm surprised C-Rod won it. Like it's been like very kind of you never really know because every judge is different. You don't know what judge is judging until like the day before, and you're like, well, who knows how
man,
we're gonna see it.
honestly, man, yeah, I would never like these guys. They get a lot of pressure put on them for sure, but like they gotta have judges with some kind of background or some kind of education with what we're doing because like if you got some random person that's just watching the fight, all they're listening for is who's got the louder fans,
Mhm.
who's got who's got the louder fans, and who wins the last 20 seconds of the round. That's it. Like if you do those two things, then you're gonna win most of the time, and that's why you got to finish fights.
Uh, Going into this one, like, are you working with anyone different, or is it just kind of the usual guys you've always working with at Fortis?
Man, my guys I'm at Lakeside, so I'm at Lakeside 95% of the time. I only go into Dallas when I'm sparring, do my rounds when coach is in town and stuff.
Mhm.
So like I go there and spar with my normal guys there, and then those guys come to my place. I go there, like I'm getting to train with everybody, and I'm doing all types of classes. I'm teaching basic technique. I'm doing the classes with these guys, and just kind of resetting back to like what you do the first month of, when you first start wanting to fight.
Uh, Going into this one, like, how do you kind of see it playing out then?
It's going to be a crazy first round, I promise you that. And then, I think like, my cardio is going to be there. My wrestling is going to be there. He's going to have problems.
What do you think a win over Alex does to you, especially if you finish him? Like, although he like, I know he's had like kind of up and down career, but like he still is a big name. Like, you're kind of always near the rankings. Like, what do you think a win here
Yeah.
does?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely like, it gives me some like, some kind of leeway. It gives me some kind of leverage to get a big fight. I think there's a lot of guys in the rankings that stay there for so long and they never fight outside the rankings, which is super frustrating. But, I think a big win over him gets me a shot at the rankings again and puts me in that position of, I'm, one of the guys again. So I just got to go out there and take care of business. And that's what I've been training for 3 rounds. And it's going to be a crazy first round. I promise you that.
How disappointed are you just at the apex? Like you got out of the apex and you're right back in it after one
I
fight.
know. I just Nashville is my place, man. If I could fight in Nashville every fight, that'd be the place I'd pick. And it's pretty damn cool. But I don't know, man. I think, the UFC's got a lot on their plate. They can't make every card amazing everywhere outside the apex. So it's like, getting put in the apex doesn't bother me. You got the PI there, you got all the UFC staff, all your, to and from places are the same every time, everyone. So there's a lot of pros to it. But the fight night itself, like I'm so focused on the fight, it's kind of hard to like really pay attention to people. But like hearing the fans last time and being in that arena was pretty cool. But shit, I'll fight in my backyard. I don't care.
Just 2 more things. Like, what you make of Ilya becoming the champ? Like, obviously, you're one of his first
Hey,
fights in the UFC. Like, what
hell
you kind of make
yeah,
of that? Because his run's been kind of crazy.
bro. When I looked him up, I was like, I told Coach Safe, I was like, Jason just sent me this guy, and I want the fight. This guy's nothing. He's a grappler. I'm gonna knock him out, or I'm gonna sub him first round when he shoots in. And because like when he had no video, like nothing, and I'm like looking him up, and all I see is him grappling, and I'm like, whatever. He's a good wrestler. That's whatever. Let's go. And so I took the fight, and coach was like, this guy's good. They think he's gonna be the next champion or the new champion, whatever. And I'm like, coach, I'm gonna beat him first round, I promise you. And he comes out fucking no wrestling, just hands up boxing. I was like, oh shit, this kid's good. He called me the body shot a couple of times, and I did hit him a few times, but that kid's good for sure. I'm not gonna say, but he's a champ, so it gives me a little bit of credit.
Yeah. Just final thing. Like, what is kind of the goal then for you this year?
Fucking, oh man, I was dying last year. I was like, give me a fight, give me a fight, give me a fight, and nothing ever came up. Like nothing ever came up. All the way from, August to December, I was begging for a fight, and I thought, and I was so focused on fighting one more time that year that I didn't even think about January, February, and that passed. And then I was like, starting to look for a fight. Then I'm like, bro, like they're already booking into March, and then they gave me April, and I was like, damn, man, like whatever. I got one on the books. I've been so focused on my gym, man. Things are going great with that. And, I have so much support there. It's been awesome, teaching these guys. And a lot of them have already fought now. So getting to like see them get built up, and to be a part of that's been pretty cool.
Well, Damon, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much for doing this again.
Hell yeah, man. Appreciate it.
All right, we're jumping UFC lightweight. Christos Giagos is back in action on April 6th. Christos, how's it going, man?
It's going good. Going good. Just putting up the final touches on the camp. And life's good.
Yeah, coming back here, like hadn't fought since September. Like, were you hoping to return sooner than this, or is this kind of the right time frame for you?
Yeah, well, I wanted to fight in February, so I was training to hopefully get on that card. And then I got the news in January that I'm gonna fight in April. So I would like to have been active a lot sooner, but hey, it is what it is.
Just quickly on that last fight, like, what do you take away from that one against Zellhuber?
I take away the good things that like I know I can get in on taller fighters, which is good for this fight. He had a longer reach. I felt like I was doing good. Everything was going good, but then there's a little point in that fight where I kind of panicked. I really wanted to take him down, and I didn't set it up, and I just made a little mistake and got caught. But we regrouped, and I won't be making those same mistakes again. So yeah, just always getting better.
And with this one, like, do you think Ignacio is like pretty similar to your last one, just being like, oh, like, does that help prepare for Ignacio?
Yeah. I think they're very similar, but Zellhuber had a longer reach, and I think Zellhuber does a better job at staying long. So I feel like Ignacio is a little more hittable, but I was able to hit Zellhuber pretty good. So I think it's gonna be a fun fight. Ignacio's a tough kid, and it's gonna be fun.
How familiar were you with Ignacio when you got the name? Like, he has, I think, 5 UFC fights now, like 3 and 2. Like, he's been in there.
I was actually familiar because I think I saw his episode of the Contender Series, and then I saw his little spinning wheel knockout against Rob Roberts. So I've seen him here and there fighting, and I knew our paths might cross one day, and now they are.
obviously is known for his size and his reach. Like how much confidence do you get from that last one? Like even though you lost, but like you did have success getting on the inside against the Huber. Like does that add some confidence going into this one?
Definitely. I know I'm fast and explosive, and I can get in on taller fighters. I train a lot with taller fighters all the time, so I'm used to it. Sometimes it can be a bitch, but it's all good. I can do it, and plus they got more room for takedowns to get under there. So this fight, I'll be probably setting up takedowns a little better, but I'm not going to be sold on getting it. If I don't get it, I don't get it. To keep it striking, just bring the fight to him. I definitely want to keep it on his back foot.
Do you bring in anyone or do you work with anyone different, or is it just kind of the usual people? Like, obviously, there's tons of guys at Kill Cliff.
Yeah. No, there's tons of guys, but I try to work with the better strikers. So I've been going a lot with Adam Boris, Alexei Pagande, is a PFL kid, a couple other guys. But I've been working with Ro Roberts a little bit as well whenever he's been in. So it was a nice tall guy who's good at striking as well. So getting a lot of good work over there for sure.
And Rose obviously fought him. Like, have you picked his brain about like kind of what he saw in there and like things you can have success against?
Definitely. I definitely picked his brain a little bit. Ro told me like he shouldn't have took that fight because he just kind of took it and he wasn't in shape or anything like that. So he wants to run that one back as well. But no, he told me a lot of good things and just to be in his face and wear him down.
How do you think this fight kind of plays out then?
I feel like I can catch him, but I don't think he's ever been knocked out. And so if not, I think I'll win a decision for sure. But I definitely want to go in there and try to finish him.
Do you think being at the Apex benefits you, or just kind of less room and like you guys are kind of forced to be closer, because especially you want to close the distance?
Yeah, I guess a little bit, but I always like fighting in front of the crowds. But like once those cage doors shut and my laser focus is on, and I'm just not really worried about anything around me. Just focused on getting that win.
Do you like being at the Apex, or do you wish it was in front of crowd? Like, were you a bit disappointed?
I'd rather have fans for sure. Yeah. But it's part of the game. I would the Apex is my least favorite place to fight, but it's a fight, so you deal with it. And there are some benefits. I can hear my corners better, and it keeps you a little more calm. So it has its own benefits for sure.
Who is going to be in the corner with you?
I'm gonna have Henry Hoof, Greg Jones, and Sean Soriano.
And for you, like, what is this? I was trying to think. We've been doing this for a bit. It's what, your third fight now at Kill Cliff, like full time?
It's my fifth fight.
Yeah, because I guess Armin was kind of that first one, wasn't it? It was just like very short notice, and
I took that fight as I was moving, so it was like I didn't really get established. It was weird. It was probably the worst fight to take, but hey, I'm a fighter, and they signed a contract. And I'm down to fight, so.
With Ignacio, like, what do you think a win here does for you? Like, you fought some of these top guys, like you fought Armin, you've been scheduled to fight Saint Denis, like obviously the UFC, you fought Thiago Moises, like the UFC obviously see something they need to give you these top guys. Like, what do you think a win over Ignacio does for you?
I feel like Ignacio, especially if I finish him, it does a great deal for me. It puts me right back in the mix to maybe hopefully get a shot at the top 15 soon. So, I feel like I've been right there for so long. So hopefully, if I get this big win, I can fight somebody a little bigger and more of a name, and get in the mix.
Were you a bit disappointed not to be on that Anaheim card, just fighting in California, like growing up there?
I wanted to, so I was trying to. That's why I was trying to stay in shape, just in case anything popped in. I told my management I would love to fight in California, back home, but no, it didn't work out.
And for you, like, what is the goal then for you this year?
I want to, go get my hand raised this fight, and then hopefully fight. Hopefully for sure one more, but maybe try to squeeze two more if possible. But definitely want to try to get back in there in like July, and just do some back-to-back fights.
And I was thinking, like, 14th UFC fight for you. Like, is it pretty crazy? You're already at that many. Like, it seems pretty wild that you fought that many times UFC.
Yeah, it is pretty wild. I love to fight, and I'm very happy with where my career has let me do, and very blessed, and just want to keep the show going. To be honest, I don't really say this out loud, but I never really cared about being the UFC champion. I just want to have a nice long career and just fight some of the best guys out there, and really test myself, and that's what I care about most. And I'm having fun, and I'm doing that, and it's been a great journey.
Yeah, I know. I've actually talked to quite a few fighters that have said the same thing, and I know a lot of fans be like, "Oh, what's the point of fighting if you don't want to be champion?" But it's just like, you can make some good money if you be active. Like you look at like what Cowboy did. Like Cowboy's never champion. He's one of the more popular fighters ever. Made a lot of money. Like what Kevin Holland's doing. Like Kevin Holland's been pretty clear. Like he doesn't think he's gonna be champion, but if he can just take fun fights and kind of fight guys that he wants to fight, like he's all fine with that.
I like those fan favorite fights too. So hopefully, I can get enough momentum to create, a bigger fan base and make some fun fights. I think I'm always entertaining. I go out there and always try to win or die trying, so I leave it all out there every time I fight. So I just want to put on a nice little show and give the fans what they, get their money's worth.
Do you put pressure on yourself then to make those exciting fights happen, or do you just think the way you fight, like it just kind of generally happens?
I think it's just who I am. When those cage doors shut, the dog in me comes out and I'm ready to bang. I'm ready to give it everything I got. Sometimes I may give too much, but I'm learning how to control a little bit better. But, I like being in firefights. And if you don't give them a fight, they're going to come after you, right? So, I just want to make sure, I put some fear in them.
It's obviously been a bit now, but was that weird when you moved to Killcliff, like right after beating Sean, and then he's kind of one of the coaches there? Like, was that weird for you, or is it just like kind of normal?
I thought it would be, but he made it really cool. He was very friendly. He was actually the first guys to hold mitts for me. Like he did me a favor. He went up a weight class to fight me. So I feel like there's no bad blood. And he's been one of the coolest guys over there. Like I said, he's been my corner my last, my last 4 fights in the UFC. So he's helped my striking a lot. And he definitely, he's a good guy. So, we have a pretty cool bond.
Well, Christos, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks for doing this again.
Sorry. No worries. Just gotta stay hydrated.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you having me on,